Nancy? Now we're going to go to the predictive tox project.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk to you this morning about PredicTox, which, as Ellen said, is a predictive toxicology project aimed at applying new science and technology to better understand and predict adverse drug events. So whereas IMEDS was focused on surveillance and detection of adverse events, this project is focused on predicting adverse events arising from drugs. So let me see. The need, let's just start by talking about the need for improved drug safety assessment. Adverse events are a big problem. We often don't understand how adverse events arise. We don't know which patients are at increased risk. Traditional approaches to assessing toxicity have limitations. They're not always predictive for human outcomes because many of them are done in animal models that, again, aren't always terribly predictive for certain human outcomes. They're not designed to detect low incidence, complex effects. So we're left in a situation where we need some better methods to understand and predict these adverse events. And so FDA was very interested, as are many others, in applying a new approach to doing drug safety assessment and applying a systems pharmacology approach specifically. So that is highlighted in FDA's strategic plan on advancing regulatory science. So I just wanted to highlight that. Let's see, so what is systems pharmacology? It's an approach, an evolving discipline that combines biology with math and computer science, really, to help us understand drug activity, both intended and unintended effects. And we're talking about being able to understand, let's see, drug act. Oh, there's no, I was thinking there was a pointer on here.
There is on the top. 12.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. Okay, so drug activity happens, down here at the molecular level, but then it's, we need to better understand how that is then conveyed up through higher levels of biological organization to the whole person through tissue organs and then the whole person. So that's what this approach is really allowing us to do. And Reagan-Udall is really convening all the necessary stakeholders in order to help build this systems pharmacology capacity. So we're bringing together all the pieces: data, expertise, funding. We have FDA heavily involved. We have NIH involved, industry, patient groups, all involved in this effort. So we're helping to develop a proof of concept pilot. So in order to try out this approach, we chose one class of therapy, tyrosine kinase inhibitors, as well as monoclonal antibodies that target tyrosine kinases, and a specific adverse event, so non-QT cardiotoxicity that has been associated with those monoclonal antibodies and TKIs as a starting point to pilot this approach. And I won't go into why we chose that, but there was a lot of stakeholder input in arriving at that adverse event and that class of treatment as a starting point. So there's potential to apply this much more broadly to other classes of drugs and adverse events if it proves successful. So the first step to do this modeling is to pull all the data together from all those different levels of biological organization. So let's see. So the first step is to gather the data and get legal agreements in place for data sharing from companies. So we were, again, looking at TKIs and monoclonal antibodies. So we would, and we've been talking to 5 or 6 companies who are willing to donate both clinical and non-clinical data on their drugs. We need to build the the framework or ontology, which is sort of the vocabulary and the relationships between all of this data, in order to put it in a data warehouse and be able to search it in a way that makes sense. So the goals of this project, or the deliverables, are to have a partnership and a home base that really serves as the center for advancing this systems pharmacology capacity. We'll have, sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. And there will be a governance structure around this, as Jane explained in her intro about how we approach projects, a steering committee and a science advisory committee to help guide the way the work is done, and also as a conduit for public input. We'll have the legal framework for the data sharing agreements. We'll have this ontology, or this controlled vocabulary, that allows you to make sense of all this information that you're trying to integrate. You'll have the warehouse that you can then search to do the mining and the analysis and the modeling that you would then do in later phases of this project. So we've set this up so that it is very iterative, and it's done in phases, and we're starting with the warehouse, and then we will move on to some of the modeling, the mining and modeling activities that are, oh, here we go, yes. The future phases would be the data mining and modeling to link the adverse events with the underlying biological pathways to get the mechanism, get a feel for the mechanism, so that then you can do a better job of predicting what adverse events may arise and which patients may be at higher risk for them. Get a better handle on the incidence, severity, and nature of these cardiac events and patient-specific risk factors to then develop the predictive model. So the long-term, big-picture outcomes are safer drugs with less risk of cardiac adverse events. By better understanding how these events arise, you can design preclinical screens to better identify potential problems earlier on. You can do a better job of figuring out what patients might be at risk in ways that you could mitigate potential adverse events. So that is the PredicTox project.
Thank you. We will discuss this later on in the board meeting, but if there are any questions now, happy to take some comments.